For more on how the Trump administration can deal with Russia is Kori from the Hoover Institution. She joins me now from Washington. So Kori, House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes warned yesterday that Congress should not begin a McCarthy-style investigation into Trump team ties to Russia during the campaign. But this morning, House Speaker Paul Ryan said, quote, "We need to get answers," end quote, on Russia, and that a bipartisan investigation is necessary. Now, because of the party's possible split on that and the concerns about reported communication between the White House and lawmakers from the intel communities, do you think that there needs to be an independent investigation?
I do think an independent investigation would actually benefit the Trump administration by clearing the air. If nothing wrong has been done, it would behoove them to allow Congress to investigate, create a bipartisan commission, have somebody mild and moderate like Senator Collins from Maine at the chair of it, and sift through what we know.
And how do you think this investigation, infighting, is impacting the U.S. relationship with Russia? I would imagine that the Russians, Vladimir Putin especially, is watching all of this very closely.
Yeah, I'm sure he is watching it very closely. The Russian strategy in all of this is a mystery to me, because I would think, given how much the Trump administration would like better relations with the Russians, and we're moving that direction, that the Russians should actually do nothing that alarms antibodies against a different and more collegial policy with the Russians. But the Russians actually seem to be doing things that are making it easier for critics of a better relationship with Russia to object.
Well, one thing President Trump is expected to talk about in his address tonight is the federal budget. He's looking to increase defense spending by $54 billion, which would be paid for with cuts to domestic programs and foreign aid. Now, there are also reports that the White House is proposing cutting the State Department budget by more than 30%. Keeping in mind that obviously these numbers are just guideposts for Congress as they work to pass legislation, what, though, do you think these proposals could mean for U.S. foreign policy?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think it's easy to overstate the potential importance, though, because the $54 billion increase to the Defense Department and the insistence by budget hawks in Congress that it be paid for rather than just added on to the debt, that's just an adjustment to President Obama's already submitted 2018 spending. So it's not carrying forward as much as the next budget submission will be. If the president actually intends to cut diplomatic and other foreign policy spending that's not in the military by 30%, I think it would actually be extraordinarily disadvantageous to America's interests and to our ability to affect those interests in the world.
Why is that, Kori? Why do you think so?
Because, military force sets the table, so to speak. It gives you the ability, it buys you time to create diplomatic solutions, to allow economic tools to begin to work. It can prevent bad outcomes. But many of the kinds of problems we're trying to affect in the world are problems where you don't want to lead with military force. You want to lead with an integrated set of tools. And the reason so much of American foreign policy has been militarized in about the last 20 years is because of the weakness of the civilian tools in our government. And we need to strengthen those, not weaken them.
Finally, the White House is standing by its claim that last month's Yemen raid that left one Navy SEAL dead was a success. But Senator John McCain questioned that today. Take a listen.
$75 million airplane, individual killed and others wounded. And according to media reports, women and children killed. So that's not a success in my view.
How potentially damaging do you think criticism like that from folks like Senator McCain is to the Trump administration?
Yeah, I think it's very easy for us to get pulled into evaluating the tactical success or failure of various military operations. But, warfare is dangerous business. Things don't always go well. Not every casualty is a cover-up. And I think we need to leave the American military and our civilian leaders the latitude to sometimes have things not go as well as we would all like them to go, and still encourage them to take initiative and be aggressive and do what they need to do to protect and advance our interests in the world. So I think we ought to be careful about second-guessing too many of the military operations that don't go as well as we would like.
So do you think then that there needs to be a further investigation into that raid?
Well, I suspect the military will look into it very carefully, but no, in my judgment, I don't think it would be helpful to layer on external investigations until we hear what the military has to say about it. There's a very robust process in the American military for investigating operations and doing after-action reviews of operations. I think we should let that process take its course.
All right, Kori Schake from the Hoover Institution, thanks so much for your perspective. Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.